Want to be taken seriously as a leader? Then guess what? Your appearance does matter. And if you don't think so, just ask President Zelensky, whose recent appearance stole the headlines instead of his policies. Let's talk about nonverbal communication coming up. Clothes don't make the man, as they used to say, and I vehemently disagree with that. I believe that in certain instances, the clothes will definitely make the man and also send the message of what the man is saying, and or woman in this instance. But as we just noticed, President Zelensky walked into this high-profile meeting with our President Donald J. Trump, and people were less than enthralled with his appearance. Why? Because he did not look presidential. The president of Ukraine didn't look presidential with his attire. Now that says a lot about a person. It says and or a lot about his or her intent. In this case, we want to talk about how this superimposes over to you and your aspect of dressing appropriately. As a leader, you have to dress like a leader. Now, given the industry that you're in, you want to be mindful of certain attire. You might not wear a suit and tie if you're the president out to a construction site. You might, but chances are you're going to have to adhere to some of the nuances of that industry when you're on site. Steel-toe hat, steel-toe boots, steel hat, steel-toe boots, something like that. But either way, when you are stepping into an executive office, you want to make sure that you have on the correct attire, because that does and will say a lot about you. Now let's talk about Zelensky here for a second. So what does his clothing say? Well, there are 9 types of nonverbal communication, and one of those is appearance. And appearances do matter, and we want to keep up our appearances. So what does the clothing of President Zelensky say? Well, to me, it signified that he might have some little defiance with the diplomacy. But he did the same thing in 2022 when he was talking to Joe Biden at the Oval Office, and he wore, I believe he had on a green outfit that time. It wasn't looking presidential. Now you may say, you know what, people just accept him who he is, that's his brand. Well, understanding and being at our age and being presidential and a leader, you should understand where you should wear certain clothing and where you should not wear certain clothing. It's tantamount to you and I when we walk into the workplace environment. If I am going to meet with executives, then I always make sure that I have on a blazer, I have on a nice shirt. Either way, when I step into any organization, that's what you're going to see me at. But especially if I'm working with or if it's meeting with the executives, I pay particularly close attention to what I am wearing. Why? Because that does signify what I feel the tone of the meeting should be. And that's another thing that we're talking about here. So violating some traditional nuances there, some diplomatic decorum in the past. You see most leaders always dress in some sort of, even if it's their native attire, still something that is very, very formal in this aspect. Even if their native attire, they're going to be, depending on where you're going, they're going to dress appropriately for the occasion, of course, right? So making sure that we have that aspect going. So the third thing I want to talk about is that it shifts focus from policy to optics. His dress shifted the thought process of the people who were listening to him to not really listen to the policies and what was coming out of his mouth, but what he was wearing. And you can divert people's attention. You can, again, divert people's attention by what you have on, how you carry yourself. This is an important factor as a leader. As you are evolving your brand, do remember that there are certain things that you may wear that totally shifts the focus from what's to be said to the thought process of what is he wearing and what is she wearing. And if that's an opportunity for you at some other outside social place, great. But in terms of the workplace environment, you want to make sure you have on the right attire every single time. So when we look at what he should have worn, and what's the benefits of wearing something like what President Trump and Vance had on, well, first of all, it's going to build the credibility. Making sure that you build credibility with the people that you are conversing with You want to make sure that that's one of the primary objectives is to build credibility. The second opportunity that it facilitates smoother negotiations. Knowing that he was coming there to talk about future aid from the U.S., that's a negotiating opportunity for both of them. Knowing that having on the right attire does matter and can put a position, as you can see, he was strongman, in the position based on his clothing. They might have elevated their conversation or conversed differently if he wore something that was more presidential. But at the same time, coming that route also signifies the strength of the alliance. I say that wearing what he wore there, that shifted the strength of the alliance to have the conversation that they had there. As you can see, it wasn't pleasant at all. Now, you may say, oh, Donald Trump was going to go do that anyway. Maybe, but I believe it would have been handled in a different way. So bottom line is dress appropriately for the occasion. Make sure you wear the right attire. Don't wear combat attire into your interview. Making sure you understand who you're going to be meeting with, whether it's an internal customer or external customer. Understand the nuances of dressing appropriately so that you can wear the right attire. All right, folks. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.